Yes, today is delivery day. What do you think is in that? It's not what you think. Hi everybody, how are you? My name is Dan Dulak and welcome back to my channel where I am building a V10 powered Ultima Evolution convertible. This is finally episode number 60. I know it's been a minute since my last video. I had the Summer of Dan, we'll talk about that a little bit later, and I've got a major surprise for all of you as well. But first, to launch into this video, we're going to take up where we last left off back in June, where I took the Ultima to my state DMV inspection station so that I could get a VIN number assigned to it. In the state of New Hampshire, you must have a VIN assigned so that you can apply for a title, so that you can ultimately get the car registered and officially on the road. All right, well, my son and I loaded up the trailer and we took it down to my local DMV station to get the car inspected. I met the state trooper, very nice lady, but she had not done a lot of VIN inspections before for a kit car. So she had to call her supervisor in Concord, which is about 60 minutes away, that's our state capital here in New Hampshire, to get advice on how to take care of this VIN inspection. That was the first problem. The gentleman who she spoke to, her boss on the phone, had 3 comments about the car. Sight unseen, remember, he's 60 miles away, she's there with me, the state trooper, looking at the car, and he had 3 comments, and I want to show those to you. She wrote them down for me to really share with you how ridiculous this is. So let me share that with you. All right, so here's all my paperwork I used and all my applications to get the VIN assigned. And here are the notes that I received from her via her boss, her supervisor up in Concord. First one. I don't know if you can see that. Will not meet US DOT road standards. Now, I looked this up. The Ultima and any Ultima coming into the United States is certainly not US DOT approved because it's not a production car. That's the key. This is not a production car. This is classified as a hand-built car or kit car. Therefore, it does not have to comply with US DOT standards. And bullshit story number 1 from this guy. Emission standards. Talking with the trooper, she said emission standards, the car won't pass emissions. I said, well, how does he know? He doesn't have eyeballs on the car. And in the state of New Hampshire, the way they check for emissions is they simply plug in a computer to the OBD2 port and check for any OBD2 codes, emission codes, or check engine light. No check engine light, no codes, means the car will pass emissions. So again, fault number 2 on this guy's logic. And then the last one, this is the best one, designed for road racing only. If you look at Ultima's website and read through the website, you'll see that it's a race car built for the street. And you Google it, you use AI, use ChatGPT, whatever you want. Clearly, it says the car was built for the street. So I do plan on running this primarily on the street. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know where he got that information. Again, I think he was just giving me a hard time and playing a bit of a power trip. Now I've got a Factory 5 Cobra that I registered with the state of New Hampshire back in 2008. I had no problem with that, and she said that's because it resembles the 1965 Shelby Cobra. It's a replica. So her logic here, or their logic here is because the Ultima doesn't represent anything, that it's not road legal. They will not assign a VIN to it. And then I happened to think about Factory 5 makes another car called the GTM. It's a mid-engine car based on Corvette running gear, but it's not meant to be a Corvette lookalike or replacement at all. And so I've seen plenty of those inspected and registered in the state of New Hampshire on the road. So that logic completely falls apart too. In the end, I became very frustrated. This was about June timeframe when I tried to do this. And I asked the state trooper, well, what's my alternative? And she said, well, a couple of interesting things. One is the laws change in New Hampshire as of January 31st, 2026. In the state of New Hampshire, there was a law passed that state vehicle inspections are no longer required, where every year you have to take your vehicle, $40, take it in, have them look at the brakes, the tires, make sure there's no exhaust leaks, just basic stuff They plug in a computer to make sure you don't have any check engine lights, and that's it. Well, we're doing away with that law. So like Florida and many other states, central US, western United States, there are no longer going to be state vehicle inspections. So because of that law change, this guy, her boss, no longer has a job come the end of January. She said, look, worst case scenario, bring the car back. We'll retry the inspection in the new calendar year in 2026, and we'll see how that goes at that point. That's kind of my plan A, is to take the car back to DMV in the spring once the weather warms up and try this inspection process all over again. Now, option 2 is to have the car registered in Montana. Set up an LLC in Montana, have the car registered in Montana. It would have Montana license plates on it, but at least it would be road legal and I could drive it on the road. I'd prefer not to do that. The state of New Hampshire is foolish because that's tax dollars, revenue coming out of their pockets in order for me to get this car on the road. So again, it makes no sense. The third option is take legal recourse. Go after the state and ask them why. First of all, if the car is, if it's not US DOT approved, why are they allowing it to import in the United States? Number 2, how do they know it won't pass emission standards? Because I've got catalytic converters on the car. They'd have to literally put a sniff test on it to validate it. But again, that's not done here in the state of New Hampshire. And then number 3, made for a racetrack only. Clearly there's a precedent set here in the United States where there's many Ultimas, tens, maybe hundreds of Ultimas that are registered and on the road in various states all over the country. I wish I knew if there was one in New Hampshire. I don't think there is, but I wish I did, because then there's precedent set there. If there is an Ultima owner in New Hampshire that has a registered VIN-assigned car in the state of New Hampshire, there's my precedent. So in any event, option 3 is legal action. That's a worst case scenario. We're hoping the law changes here in January of 2026, changes the rules so that I can appropriately, or at least deal with somebody new, somebody different. That's the update on the Ultima as far as where it is in the process of getting a VIN number assigned so that I can get the car titled and registered and on the road. So that's going to have to wait till springtime before we get that going. All right, well, let me show you guys the updates on the car since the last time you saw it. So I did do a few little things. The first thing you might notice are these door pulls. So there was a hole here just in the door, fiberglass door, so you could get into the latch mechanism and so forth. And there's no provision from the factory to do anything with this. You can kind of see raw fiberglass inside, so I didn't like the look of that. So what I did is I scanned the hole with my 3D scanner, designed in CAD, kind of a filler panel here, 3D printed it, and you can see I covered it in Alcantara, so the 3D printed part covered nicely in Alcantara, and then just picked up these pull straps off eBay and then bonded a couple of aluminum mounting brackets on the inside of the door. And then you can see here the screw covers are right there. And then this becomes a nice pull. I've got one on the passenger side as well. And those came out really nice. Of course, over time, if I wanted to, I could change the color of these pull tabs, but I think they look nice with the rest of the orange accents on the car. The other thing I did was I designed some dive planes or canards, however you want to describe them. They're right here. Give the front end a little bit more aero grip. Scanned the front fender with my 3D scanner, designed these in CAD, 3D printed, and then skinned them in carbon fiber. So they're very rigid. They're solidly mounted from inside, and then 3M double-sided adhesive on the inside there as well. I think those look pretty nice. Those came out great. Gives the front end a little bit more of an aggressive look as well. And then the third major update I wanted to share with you is here on my mirror uprights. I made these some time ago, but if you remember on the Ultima convertible, normally from the factory there's just an aluminum upright here. It's a simple straight aluminum upright, and I thought that didn't quite go with the aesthetic of the car that I was looking for. So again, you guessed it, I scanned it with my 3D scanner, the mirror housing, as well as the stanchion, the upright. And then what I designed is this wing-looking upright that simply slides over the aluminum upright. I put nice grommet down here at the base, along the body line, and it fits very well up against the mirror. So It is shaped very much like a wing. And again, more aesthetics than anything. Maybe clean the air up a little bit there. But I think that came out really nice. And of course, I did the same thing on the other side as well. That's just a little touch I put on the car. As you can see, I've got the seats out completely. And here you can see a bunch of electronics. So let's talk about that. The other thing, if you remember, back on the last episode, is I was still working on getting the transmission controller, the TCM, unlocked. It's a brand new TCM. It's got a factory code on it. And per normal procedures, you need ODIS software to unlock the component protection on any new part you buy for an Audi, Lambo, anything VW. You need the ODIS software to unlock parts and assign it to the vehicle. And the reason we need to unlock the TCM is, back in an earlier episode when I drove the car for the first time, won't shift out of second gear. It would not come out of second gear. And that's just a normal condition for a brand new TCM that has not been factory unlocked yet or mated to the car electronics. So that's the behavior you would expect. So we need to get that TCM unlocked. Now, for about the next 5 minutes in this video, I'm gonna go into gory details on how I'm gonna fix the software in my transmission so it will shift above second gear and behave normally. To spare yourself a headache, hit the chapter button, the next chapter below. It'll skip ahead about 5 minutes and it'll spare yourself. If you hang with me, buckle up. Here we go. All right, a picture is worth 1,000 words here. So let me see if I can describe for you, first of all, the challenge we have in my current setup in getting ODIS to unlock the TCM. So here's the, call it the topology of my electronics. You can see the transmission in the top left here, the engine, of course, and then within the transmission is transmission controller module number 1, or TCM1, otherwise known as the mechatronic. That's what actually does the gear shifting. And then there's also a TCM2 involved here as well. And then ECM1 and 2, the master and slave engine computers that of course are required for the engine to run. And I've also have installed in my chassis the OEM CAN gateway. I use that as my OBD2 interface, and that's the interface for ODIS. So in order to unlock TCM1, obviously ODIS software is required, and we need to pair TCM1 with ECM1 and 2. So the transmission and engine computers must be paired together. And typically that's done so that the VINs match and so forth, and that ultimately unlocks the transmission computer. When we plug in ODIS, it works fine. It communicates with TCM1. It recognizes it's a brand new mechatronic that needs to be unlocked. However, the first step in that learning process or that unlocking process with ODIS is it's looking for a key. It's looking for the key fob. But in my setup, as you see here, while I have the original key fob that's matched with ECM1 and 2, I don't have any of the other electronics in between. Obviously, the key fob is a wireless unit. It needs to communicate with something. And through the service manual, I was able to find, well, there's a coil reader. Now, the coil reader doesn't stand alone. That is plugged into body control module number 2, or BCM2, which in the R8 happens to be the immobilizer master as well. That controls if the car can or should start based on the existence of a paired key. So that's an absolute core requirement with getting this to work, is to have a BCM2. And of course, the BCM2 plugs into the CAN gateway. So I went and purchased a BCM2 module off from eBay, and this is where the first problem came in. So the first thing we tried to do with ODIS, now that I had these electronics and we were getting communication here, was to pair the key fob with the immobilizer master. These must be paired. And in order to do that, requires a VIN match with the ECM1 and 2. Now, because I purchased BCM2 off of eBay from a different R8 with a different VIN, obviously the VINs don't match my ECM1 and 2. Therefore, I could not pair the key fob. So that was process number 1. Process number 2 was, well, maybe we can go in with ODIS and change the VIN number that's in the software so that the VIN matches ECM 1 and 2, which would then allow me to pair the key fob. We ran into a lot of issues with that. We tried to work around a few things. One idea we had was we'll just simply purchase a brand new BCM2 that has no VIN assigned yet, and we can use ODIS to assign the VIN. Then we can pair the key fob, and away we go. So that's where we left off, but I ended up finding an even better solution. Now, one day on eBay, I happened to stumble across a car dismantler who was selling a complete kit of electronics taken out of a 2023 Audi R8. I got some additional components I didn't really need, but I'm temporarily wiring them in place just to make sure there are no other dependencies. But I effectively purchased these additional parts, all with matching VINs. So everything you see here with a green check mark came from the same 2023 R8, all VIN matched and all ready to go. So I've gone through the process of swapping out the original OEM electronics I had, the mishmash of parts in the car. I've replaced them now with these fully VIN matched components and then unlock TCM1. Now, once that is complete, I'll be able to remove all of these parts. So these parts here in the yellow box will simply be temporary in order for me to satisfy the requirements from ODIS, make it happy, and then once I've done the unlocking of the transmission mech, I'll be able to simply remove these components altogether. And then the third step will be disable the MO on the engine computers. So that'll be the final step in the process. And I think finally, that will be the key to this engine swap. Wow, was that a mouthful? I hope you guys are still with me. I hope it didn't put you to sleep. But I'll tell you, the days of a simple engine swap or a simple engine transplant are gone. And it's going to get even harder with today's hybrid vehicles, more electronics, more electronic nannies getting in the way of us doing what we love to do, which is build cars, modify cars, create something different and unique for us. It's going to get tougher, guys, but hopefully we will use this process I just went through and I will address this issue once and for all. My tuner is coming back with ODIS, hopefully in the next week or so, and we'll get this and see if this actually works. There's no reason why it shouldn't. I think I've got all the pieces parts there, but who knows the way this journey's been going, who knows what other hurdles we'll have to cross. I think I've reached the bottom of the rabbit hole, but stay tuned for that and we'll find out hopefully on the next episode whether or not I make this thing work and shift beyond second gear. All right, now let's transition to something that those of you who have eagle eyes might have seen behind me or in a few shots here. A new silver bullet in the garage, something new that you haven't seen before. So let me introduce that to you. So this is the car sitting here in the garage. I've got my winter storage configuration. The Aston up top, the Factory 5 Cobra, and the brand new, or new to me, a 2019 991.2 GT3 RS in GT Silver Metallic. Obviously the WISAC pack that you could see, the carbon roof, the carbon hood, and so forth. And got the carbon ceramic brakes on here, and I absolutely love this car. So I've got a stack of mods over here that I am gonna do. Obviously I'm gonna change all the fluids, certainly the oil, change the air filters, the cabin filters. I've got a exhaust here, so I'm gonna do a muffler delete exhaust. That's a GMG exhaust to give me some more sound. And I've got some other goodies in these boxes as well. So I've got some mods planned for this already to make it unique, to make it mine. But I gotta say, I'm ecstatic with this thing. It's a beautiful car. It is something to be had behind the wheel, I'll tell you that. So it's gonna be a good next summer when we get this thing out and stretch its legs. I've got a full PPF wrap, so I bought the car with a full PPF wrap on it. It's got about just over 8,000 miles, so still barely broken in. And as far as the interior, it's pristine. It's cherry. You know, also see I've already started some modifications here. I've got the side sill removed because I'm putting in the illuminated door sills here. That's one spec that I wanted that this did not come with, but that's easy enough to put those in after the fact. The other thing I already did as well is I replaced the Alcantara steering wheel with a leather one. So not only is this steering wheel thicker, the grip is a little thicker, it is leather to match the dash and the tops of the doors with the GT Silver stitching here as well. So I just like the look and the feel of leather a bit better than Alcantara. I find Alcantara on a steering wheel, it gets worn and looks dirty all the time, and I just don't like that look. So that came out really nice. The other thing I did while I had the steering wheel off is I actually put the 992 GT3 RS paddle shifters in there. So you can see the paddles are shaped a little different. They're longer, they're made of aluminum, and they have that very positive clicking sound, magnetic shifters that click when you pull them. So it just adds to the driving engagement a little bit more, and certainly makes it feel more race than it already is. So guys, that's about it on this car for now. We're going to do some videos with this, certainly in the springtime. A lot of rolling videos. My son has become quite the photographer, so we're already talking about getting equipped to do some awesome rolling shots on the road, on the highway. Not only obviously with this car, but this one as well. That's what we're all here for, is this. But certainly I'm gonna create some additional videos specific to all the Porsche enthusiasts out there who are interested in this and wanna see what that's all about. And someday, hopefully this summer, we're gonna get both of these on the track together and see how they perform. All right guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Now I know it's not the traditional episode you're used to seeing from me with a bunch of music montages and a lot of hands-on fabrication and building of this, but I had a lot to catch you up on. So hopefully I accomplished that in this video. I did take the summer off from videos. I really took the summer off from all social media. Spent a lot of quality time with my family. My daughter graduated high school. She's now in university. Had a lot going on. Camping trips, racing trips, went to 2 F1 races. I just had a blast. But now I'm back. I'm back to finish up these cars. You can see I'm certainly busy with the 3RS behind me. I got that delivered in late August, so I did have September, October to enjoy it before it got put away. So I've been keeping myself busy. But I really appreciate everybody reaching out, asking where I am, what I'm up to. Here I am, I'm back, and I look forward to, on the next episode, hopefully getting this and reporting some good news that I've got my transmission mechatronic all ready to rip and ready to go. And if I can get that, we're gonna celebrate out even in the freezing cold weather here out on the street and test her out. So until then, guys, we'll see you next time.